Hello, everybody, and welcome to Net That Haul with me, Mariner, and as always, my good buddy, FPL Lens, Gabe, still in Portland. How are you, my friend?
Still in Portland, still being rained on. There's a lot of water here in Portland. I'm doing well this morning, Mariner. Nice to see you. Nice to be here with the haulers.
Yes, makes a change for the desert.
Absolutely. The change, it changes your mind too. I find myself thinking differently because of it. We'll get to a little philosophy later, though.
Absolutely. And a little birdie told me that it was your birthday yesterday. 21 again.
Yes, that was a private chat, Mariner, but thanks for sharing.
Oh no, bugger it. I want you to get nice. I want you to get some birthday wishes from the haulers. So
I appreciate that.
Get wishing Gabe a happy birthday. He didn't put this thing on saying, "Oh, what's this glitch?" Who can put that crap on Twitter for crying out loud?
You know, tweet.
What's this glitch?
That has gotten old. I will agree. But yeah, it was my birthday yesterday. Had a really nice time. And up bright and early for some hauling action.
Well, let's hope so.
Indeed.
Well, as I say, I'm looking forward to this episode, the matchup show for Net That Haul. I'm looking forward to this show, really. Honestly, I am, Gabe. So, should we crack on? First of all, first things first, let me just get the usual bits. And then do you want to say hello to a few people? So, yeah, I think we're at 1480 subscribers now. So Neba, I think, has now just about committed to get dressed up as Ali G for Halloween. I'm not quite sure where the Ali G and Halloween comes in, but anyway, he's doing it. So fair enough. But you've got to get to 1,500 subscribers first, ladies and gentlemen. So please do. And of course, we are still a pod, and it gets picked up quite a lot. And as Hibbo always asks, and I always forget, please give us a 5-star review on Apple if indeed that's where you are, because that helps us a great deal as well. Mini League, we are going to close this fairly soon, but I've noticed the boys are trying to grab more and more highly ranked people even this week. So I think we should all go on strike because I'm not going to win it at this rate. But anyway, there we go. There is still a Mini League, FG1XNB, if you want to come and join the haulers. And the prize, as we keep mentioning, is a shirt from @ShirtLootBox. We've got Matt Whelan's book at FPL Obsessed, and we've got a subscription for Fantasy Football Fix, 1-year subscription as third prize as well. So, Gabe, before I come to you for the philosophy, do you want to just say hello to a few people?
Yeah, we have several people in the chat already this morning. Ramanathan is in here. FPL_Sav. Hey, nice to see you. FPL_Pepsi. I think there's a new one for me. Welcome. Sujit Bana is in. Donnie FPL, as usual. Macha's in the house. Nice to see him. Horderfe, hello. Tavindra, nice to see you again. Nick_ is in here as well. Ignatius Bryan, my fantasy Bundesliga brother. We have Ant A joining us as well. Who else? I think that Mr. A is in the house. Welcome, everybody. Nice to see you all this morning, this afternoon, this evening, later tonight, tomorrow.
This afternoon, this evening, whenever it is, wherever you are in this wonderful world of ours. Welcome to Net That Haul. So anyway, if you are here for the first time, I put it up on the screen, Gabe. We always like to have just a moment to philosophize, if that's the word, about FPL. And you know me, I very rarely understand these, but please spend the next 2 minutes trying to explain this to me in layman's terms that the Mariner can understand.
Okay, in sailors' terms, I'll try to.
Sailors' terms, yes, right. That'll do, yeah.
So the FPL philosophy of the week this week comes from Ludwig Wittgenstein, a German philosopher that was very much into language. And the quote from him this week is, "The warrior hunter does not catch game because they set their traps or because they know the routines of their prey, but because they themselves have no routines." So this struck me. So I'll tell you the kind of the backstory here. I'm in Portland, right? And there's this famous bookstore here called Powell's. It's like, I don't know, it's an enormous kind of hipster bookstore. And I decided I was going to go in there and I was going to go to the philosophy section. I wasn't going to think about anything. And I was going to be drawn somewhere. So I was drawn to a book by Ludwig Wittgenstein. I remember studying him in university. And this is just kind of like, so this quote kind of came to me. And I was thinking, as we're hunting for hauls in this FPL game, right? It's easy to become lost in dogma and patterns of the herd. You know, don't do this, don't take hits, do this, don't do that, roll your transfer, what have you, right? But I think it's important to remember that adaptability is a special trait of survival, as espoused by Charles Darwin, of course. And I think the same applies in FPL. Those that survive are the ones best able to adapt to their environment and let go of preconceived notions when faced with the facts of the moment.
Right, okay. Right, where do I start? Harvey Barnes. Where else? Rob Holding.
There's so many.
Gareth Bale. You two-faced so-and-so put in this one. I can't believe it.
Why? I adapt. Gareth Bale, trash. Harvey Barnes, where is he now? Rob Holding can't even sniff the pitch, can't even mow the grass. I mean, just read the signs.
No, I'm only joking with you. But no, I think that's a good point. Don't have that bias which affects your game. I've heard of people who refuse to own players from certain teams just because you don't like them. What? If clearly you're not taking FPL seriously enough if that's the case. What else? Well, I heard a great Twitter space this week about playing your own game. We always preach that, don't we?
We do.
Play your own game. And I think that is the key point here for sure. Fantastic, Gabe. So, right. We don't have a matchup section per se this week, do we? So what we'll do, we're just going to, I think we're just merging it all together. So let's start with the engine room as always, and let's have a look and see what's going on with respect to how we did last week with our predictions. And I don't think we did too badly, being honest with you. So let's have a quick look. So the first one we said was Liverpool would score 2.5 goals. Well, of course they did. All this thing about the early kickoff. Come on, boys. It was Watford. There's no way was Ranieri's credit card going to get melted in a restaurant, was there?
Poor Watford players got no dinner that night.
No chance. Well, I hope they were. Well, perhaps they're all feeling a bit sick, so maybe they didn't eat anyway. But yeah. This Mo Salah show, as usual, hardly surprising given the matchup. It was fairly obvious to us, both of us. MXG, I think, and matchup.
Yep.
The next one, Manchester City, 2.5 goals or more. Fail, surprisingly. Very surprisingly, given the MXG of 2.2, but very close to the 2 goals, which you predicted. We'll come to that in a minute. But my matchup had it better than that. That it's one of those things, I think. I didn't watch the game, so I can't really comment. I was extremely busy this weekend. Just gone. The next one, the Alchemist, Kevin De Bruyne. Again, a success. That Alchemist pick is starting to really get some traction, Gabe.
It really is. I don't know. You know what? We have to dig up the history and maybe show it next time. But that the Alchemist pick has been hitting.
It did.
The differential pick.
It did really well, didn't it? It did get the clean. We did predict the clean sheet, but I suppose that's almost like predicting the sun comes up in the east, right? For Manchester City. And I mean, they had a 62% chance of a clean sheet according to those in the know, as I like to say. And it was hardly a big surprise. Really.
I'm so happy I brought Diaz in for this match.
You and me both, mate. Don't get me started. Do not get me started because I had Jimenez and Diaz both 1-pointers, both in the last minute. Holy shit.
Yeah, you have a question there from Ramanathan.
In lemons. I'll come to that in a minute. We'll come to that in a second. So we'll come to the algorithm. It did all right. It did all right. Right, so that's Manchester City's clean sheet in the bank, apart from the fact that we only had our friend Cancelo. Just for Mike if he's in. I know he wanted to hear me say it.
Yeah.
But as for our friend, Mr. Cancelo, put my teeth back in. A very, very unlucky hauler. Extremely unlucky. Look at these graphics I've done, by the way. Don't you like them?
It's brilliant. You and Hibbo are on fire with these things.
Yeah, we're on fire now. That's me and Hibbo. We're like brothers. We're like art brothers. Right. Anyway, so look at these numbers. One big chance, an XG of 0.55, an XA of 0.18, an expected goal involvement of 38, and he got nothing.
Yeah.
Very, very unlucky. Anyone who was on him?
Is that a pattern with Cancelo, right? How many game weeks last week were we waiting for his haul, right?
We're still waiting, aren't we? And you watch, he's going to get He's going to get bloody rested this week. You watch. Yeah, I've been worried about my bench again. My bench order. I've got a feeling it won't make the blindest bit of difference again. That's my honest feeling. Anyway, we will see. And here's one game that you didn't like, and I did. I got it right. I said that Spurs would get more than 2.5 goals, and they did. I also said that it could be time for Harry Kane, and it was.
And it was, yeah.
But it wasn't through any form of statistical evaluation. It was just a feeling in my water.
It was your Alchemist. Maybe he was your Alchemist.
Maybe. Well, he was certainly something, but I don't know about Alchemist. But look, Newcastle are bad, right?
Yeah. Bad. I mean, bad.
And what's her name from off Ghostbusters as well? The chief executive. What's her name? Zul.
Yeah, Zul.
She looks like Matey Boy off the latest Ghostbusters film, the baddie. Have you seen her face?
No.
It's hilarious. You need to have a look. I'll get the picture anyway. I'm not quite sure. I'm sure they'll do all right. I think there's some Newcastle fans in here tonight, so I better be a bit careful. But no, they work great. But I'm sure they'll improve. And of course, sadly, Steve Bruce has gone. I feel quite sorry for him. He's had a horrible amount of abuse, and I think it's uncalled for. And yeah, I've made my point on Twitter earlier on to a few people about it as well. He's made a few points today, and I think to be fair, I think he's got some valid points. I think these keyboard warriors need to take a long, hard look at themselves on social media in general. That's just my general statement. Human beings at the end of the day.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm not the biggest Steve Bruce fan as a manager, but not everybody is all bad unless it's Mourinho, right? So, I mean, you got to give credit to Steve Bruce for turning Newcastle into. I would say they're kind of a fun team to watch. Yeah, even with how terrible they are and the gaps they leave open and how irresponsible that is. The way he's
given all the problems that they've got to do what he's done with what he's got.
They're attacking. They brought in Callum Wilson, which was a great buy. Yeah. Sam Maximan's amazing. So yeah. Anyway.
Oh well. Anyway, enough of that. But yeah, I hope he enjoys. I think it's probably going to be retirement, and I wouldn't blame him. I wouldn't blame him. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Did his job. As Nick said, Steve technically did his job whilst at Newcastle he didn't get relegated. Yeah. Fair point. Yep. All right, so that's the review. A little bit longer than normal, but I thought Steve Bruce was worthy of a minute or two chat, as was the Ghostbusters jibe. But anyway, now I've already posted these on Twitter this week, these fixture difficulties. So I thought it was about time that I gave something to the community in general, rather than just us all in the haulers on the trawler as such. So all the fixture difficulties for this week you will find on Twitter, summarised very nicely if you care to go and pick it up on my Twitter. And of course, if you enjoyed it, retweet it, please. Top 3 for attack at home. And I've done it by home and away this time rather than attack and defense. So top 3 at home: City 1.1, Liverpool 1.2, United 2.4. So there's a gap. There's a gap there now between Liverpool and City and the rest. Brentford, look, equal third. Now, 2.4, along with Manchester United and Chelsea. Bottom, only bottom 3. Watford right at the bottom. Palace improving, second bottom. So Watford 5.3, Palace 4.2 improving, Wolves 4.2 improving. And big movers, the big movers for attack at home, United are improving, even though goodness knows what's going on there. I think the metric might be pissed. Everton are improving and Wolves are improving and getting worse. Spurs, Leeds, Villa and Southampton. So there we go. You can see this if you come across to the show, you'll pick this all up and you'll see the reds, obviously, which means they're getting worse, and the greens, which are improving. As I say, you will see these on Twitter as well. Defensively at home, Brighton are top, 1.7. And they're very consistent. But right the way through the period that this fixture difficulty looks at, Brighton have hardly changed. Very, very consistent. This is for virtually a season. Over a season now, they have been consistently good at home.
It's interesting that they are now playing to their stats. It's like they've regressed, and then they're not overperforming, they're not underperforming. It's you're right.
Yeah, I think you're right. Okay, Brighton the top, as I said. City second, 1.9. So Brighton top 1.7, City 1.9, but improving, and United third, but getting worse. And I think that's an interesting point for this week. That when we do look at this matchup between Liverpool and United, I think it'll be an interesting one. Bottom 3 defences at home. Well, shut the front door. Watford, Norwich and Newcastle. Just target them, guys. I think that's all we can really say. Big movers at home defensively. Southampton, minus 1.9. Big improvement. Liverpool, minus 1.8. Big improvement. Palace, minus 1.7. Big improvement. And City, minus 1.5. So all these, you can see these greens on here. Look, this again shows that against the previous periods, which the fixture difficulty we're looking at, now they're improving. I had a question about that on Twitter as well. So, okay, moving on, Gabe. Away fixture difficulties. So attack away, Liverpool continue to nearly break the metric, even with the whole period taken into account. They are now at 0.3. They're improving even more. Wow. It's getting completely balmy. Minus 1.7, so they're getting better all the time. West Ham, 2.2, now balanced. Pretty neutral. Got my concerns about West Ham between me and you. I dare say that might come up in general chit-chat later. And Chelsea as well, getting worse third, 2.4. And at the bottom, Norwich 5.9, terrible away. Remember that one for attack. Arsenal 4.5, second bottom, much worse than previous away from home. And Brighton 4.4, they're improving. Big movers for attack away. Wolves, massive improvement, minus 3.2. Liverpool, minus 1.7, and City. And much worse, Arsenal, Leicester and Chelsea now getting worse, interestingly enough. And that's a bit of a common statement about Chelsea. They are misfiring. I think I would consider them now. Away defence, Manchester City are top, 2.1. So I think, did we just say that Brighton were top of defence at home?
At home.
And City are top for defence away? And they're playing each other this week. Brentford second top, 2.4 now. So Brentford's defence, second best ranked according to this fixture difficulty. I'm just going to come straight out with this, Gabe. Are we sleeping on Brentford defence?
I don't think so. I think they have been part of the conversation recently, and a lot of people considered them on Wildcard. And I think the deterrent was their Chelsea matchup last game week. But I think moving forward, they are highly interesting. I mean, there are people that I think saved their wild card because of that matchup. So, no, I think people's eyes are turned to Brentford defense. For me, I think it would be Pinnock because of his role as a creative, his and creativity for the team on the left hand side of that kind of like possession triangle. But I think we're gonna see people bringing those assets in really soon. Starting this week.
I'm really starting to regret bringing in Ramsdale. So I'm thinking that Raya might also be a pretty good shout to get on that defence in a way.
So why the regret so soon?
Well,
we had the conversation.
Crap. That's why.
I mean, they can be, yes, but
I just don't like it. I just don't like it. I mean, I was listening to the boys' show. I've not got right the way through it because it was only last night. I was listening to a bit of it. I think Hibbo's in a similar situation to me. He also went with Ramsdale, and now he's starting to think, why on earth did we do it? Look at their position. Look at where they are in defensive rankings. They're not too bad away from home, but pretty poor. And yeah, I just don't have the love for it. I don't love it.
I think that's a little bit of recency bias for those that watch the Monday night game, and because last week we couldn't decide between the three, right? Between Sanchez, Raya, and Ramsdale. One game later, all of a sudden we want to ditch the fucking.
I think now, yeah.
It's a goalkeeper. Chill the fuck out. He's good.
I know, but I'm talking about Brentford in total. I mean, Brentford 2.4. If you think about it, what do I do? I look at numbers. And I should, why take Sanchez out when Brighton are ranked so high in defence? That's my point.
Yeah, that's why I kept Sanchez. He hadn't given me a reason to take him out, and so I just I did nothing.
Yeah.
So sometimes that's the best. Sometimes that's the best thing.
Sometimes better. Anyway, I'm stuck with him now. Anyway, so back to defence. Anyway, Chelsea third, 2.7 at home. Not great.
There's a good point by Andy Martin here. He says against these weaker teams, wouldn't be surprised to see Henry get higher up the pitch, and that's true. Henry's kind of the only one that gets high up the pitch on the left hand side there for Brentford. So right. I think that's a good point. In certain matchups, Henry could be a sneaky little defensive hauler.
Well, we'll have to have a look at the zonal matchups and see whether that actually works for him as well. Then, so that's that. Righty ho, and Watford, interesting enough, fourth for defence away. And I pulled this out and I looked at don't start me off. Listen here. They've only conceded 5 big chances. That's equal fifth. They've only conceded 5 big chances this season away.
So when we run into anomalies like these, I would suggest that maybe it's too soon to separate home and away.
Possibly. The only thing is, though, is that I think by not separating it, what you're doing then is you're missing these. I know it's small data sets, and particularly for Watford, but I think what you're missing is these little vagaries of between the two. And we've seen it before with Leeds, right? Leeds last year was really good at one stage, really good at defence at home and absolutely crap at the opposite away. So I like to keep it going, but look, I'm making a point because people have seen it and gone, what? But hang on a minute, they've only conceded 5 big chances, and they are 8th for expected goals conceded, and they are 10th for shots in the box. So they're not by any means bad statistically, is what the point I am making. But I'm not tipping them by any way, shape, or form. Burnley, 4.8, Southampton 4.8, Norwich again 4.4. who's getting better defensively? Wolves away 2.3, West Ham 1.9, Everton 1.2, and who are getting worse? Arsenal. Sorry, boys. Arsenal 1.7, Chelsea 1.5, Southampton 1.4, and Spurs 1.2. So that's the fixture difficulties. Gabe, anything you want to add before we quickly skip on?
Yeah, I mean, I think separating home and away is, I think it's important to have both the season long and home and away, just so you don't miss maybe some nuance and subtleties.
Yeah.
One thing that stands out to me is I think Southampton are much better at home than away. If I remember the previous slide, as far as defense, I'm talking about defense.
3.8 defense.
3.8 and improving quite dramatically.
And
maybe
improving
the
dramatically at home and away 4.8.
And getting worse.
Yeah.
Which is that's what's interesting to me. They're improving at home, getting worse away in terms of their defense. And then the other thing that surprised me was home attack for Norwich. Mid-table.
Yeah, not too bad.
Yeah,
3.8.
That's something to watch. In my MXG metric, it still has them as that they're never going to score, but this ever. But this speaks tells a different tale. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on their attack at home.
Well, I mean,
not to get anyone, but just for matchups.
We'll come to MXG a bit later anyway. But
sure.
None of the MXGs are particularly low this week.
Right.
None.
Right.
Interestingly enough.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, let's keep going. So let's now look at the long distance fixture difficulty. So who's got the best fixtures between Gameweek 9 and 13? Well, it seems like a bit of a stuck record, but it's still Liverpool stand out by a mile for attack. 2.5 average, Chelsea 1.9, City 1.1. Then you've got United, Southampton, and Brentford. And defensively, you've actually got Brentford now sat at the top of the averages with respect to matchups. They've obviously got three pretty nice matchups coming up in the next from game week 10 onwards at 1.5. Yeah. Chelsea and City 1.4 and Brighton 0.8. So the regular runners are there, but Brentford all of a sudden have just propelled themselves right to the top, which is really interesting. And looking a little bit further out, again, you've still got to say, I'll leave this in for you guys, but Liverpool stay strong. Manchester City stay strong. Chelsea still reasonable. And Manchester United improve. And defensively, City get better again. City get worse, 2.1 from 1.4. Chelsea get slightly worse. Brentford get slightly worse. West Ham improve as well. So you're starting to see a few little changes. So I know some people are talking about wildcarding in 14, so I'm going to keep that break there at that point and see if that starts to firm up in weeks to come. So that's that one. Moving on very, very quickly. Gabe, the matchups for this week with respect to zones. So this is always an interesting point. So let's look at these ones, and I very much welcome your input here. So who's best on the left this week? Well, Manchester United, 4.3. Up against probably Trent, who's probably up the other end of the pitch. Yeah, quite probably, right? West Ham, 4.3. How many more times do I say is this is the week to sell Ben Rama? So those are the first two. So what do you think to Manchester United, and in particular maybe a Pogba this week, or do you see goals between Manchester United and Liverpool? I think I do.
Definitely, I see goals. I don't know. The problem with Manchester United's left side is Solskjaer, because he's playing Sancho, or like last match he played Sancho on the left hand side, but Sancho is a player that combines. It's like 1-2, short, long, playing players in space. The weight of Sancho's passes for players making runs in is exquisite. The guy is a master at that. but Solskjaer has him on an island on that left side. I don't know what he expects of him. That's a better spot. Pogba is better in that kind of setup. If you want to play Sancho, you need to get players around him and combining with him, which he's not doing. So just that uncertainty would, I'd shy away from United. I'm not sure if I could see them blanking here. I could see United blanking, even though the matchup is good. They would have to come out with something figured out tactically to exploit that matchup.
I genuinely cannot see Liverpool keeping a clean sheet.
They're getting better.
I know they are, but I still can't see
improving.
This is again another one of these blood and guts.
That's true.
East Lancs Road derby, right?
That's true.
It's from somebody who was born in that area. I'm telling you now, there's no love lost, none at all. So for that reason, I think there's probably goals. I think, again, I think the space. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but Trent will, I'm sure, be looking to get forward. That could leave them a little bit exposed down that left side, possibly. So that gives them a chance. What about West Ham playing at home against Spurs? So that's a real local derby as well.
Yeah.
Probably need. I know they got a good result away at Everton, but they didn't. I thought for the first 15 minutes, I thought I'm in here. I thought Ben Rama and Antonio were going to finally, join forces and give me a lovely little double return, but it never came.
Well, I love the Planet FPL Derby here. I think, as it's known in the community. But I think you attack Spurs. I think Spurs defensively are vulnerable, certainly down the flanks, as shown by the metric here. I think Ben Rahma's a great play. I wonder if Sofa will be back, if he's back from his. I think he had a groin injury, but I think he's due to return most likely. We'll see. We'll keep an eye on them over the week, but I wouldn't sell Ben Rahma. I could see a return for him.
Well, I'm starting him at this moment in time. I'm starting them both because I just think, again, I don't really rate Spurs defensively, and I think that's going to, and with it just being one of those clearly very, very emotional afternoon, shall we say, at the in North London there, I think it could be a it could be a good game, actually. It could be a very, very good game. So I might well keep them both.
The two best matchups for Gameweek 9 at 4.9. I mean,
in the middle, in the middle.
Well, we have Wolves in the middle against Leeds, and so that central matchup, right? So maybe Jimenez will be back. Most likely, we expect him to. So do not sell Jimenez if you are.
I hope he plays more than a minute, or else yes.
And then, Liverpool right-hand side. Mo Salah's just tearing it up.
Well, Mo Salah is absolutely tearing it up at 4.9, isn't he? Let's face it. But yeah, what about Wang? Didn't have such a great game, did he?
No.
He missed Jimenez.
He missed Jimenez. He's an inconsistent player. We talked about that last week, didn't we?
That.
Yeah. This is something to be expected from him. And for those that got him in, the dangers are it's tough to move away. It has most likely a double move unless you have money in the bank.
Although if he's playing at that price, you can just leave him there.
Yeah, he can rot there. I don't know. I'd rather have that money in midfield.
All right. So anyways, that's roughly where we are. Looking a little bit further ahead, as always, as we like to do, long range forecast for these zonal matchups. Manchester United on the left, always strong these days. Manchester City, their left, strong. Liverpool and Arsenal through the middle. Southampton still very strong. Problem you've got now is who's going to play there.
Yeah.
Who is going to play there? Because the matchups are pretty good for Southampton in the next few weeks. If you can get the right one, you might get some returns. But I feel particularly sorry for the people who went for Armstrong in the wildcard. There was nothing to suggest that. Nothing.
Yeah, and maybe I don't know. Maybe Hasenhüttl is experimenting. Maybe he made a mistake. Maybe Armstrong will be back. Who knows? The Arsenal central matchup is interesting. For those Arsenal fans out there looking at Aubameyang.
Yes, I'd agree. 3.9. It's looking, the long run. It's looking okay, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he is starting to score now. So maybe he is going to start coming back into the discussions in the coming weeks. I would say, looking at those matchups, he probably will. On the right, Liverpool and City standouts. Surprise, surprise. Yeah. Wolves right still. As a Traore owner, did you play him last week? No. Did you bench him?
Of course. Of course I
Did he come on?
benched him.
Did he come on?
Of course not. Diaz came on for a hot minute. That prick Diaz. Traore. No, you play the player.
Even worse than mine. I mean, I had Livramento blocked, but to get Traore blocked on the bench, that is just absolute classic FPL, right?
You play the players that blank, and you bench the players that get something, right? That's the name of the game.
Yeah, of all the times, and he goes, and then you lose it in the last minute. Oh my goodness me! Oh dear. Anyway, so that's the zonal matchups, and they're also being published on Twitter as well, so you'll be able to pick those up. All these matchups have all been posted on Twitter in the last side. Newcastle swing on the right seems good according to Ramthan. Let's have a quick look. Yes, Newcastle will improve, but not only to reasonable numbers from pretty poor numbers. So they're improving, but not massively, I would suggest.
And with the changes there, I think it's kind of a reset for Newcastle. We don't know the team just yet, so let's see how they change.
Definitely, when you've got new managers coming in, I would always say that. This week's matchups, and here we go. So now let's have a quick look at this. So Liverpool 2.1 best matchup this week away at Manchester United.
You love that.
Absolutely love it. It's fabulous. It's made my day. It absolutely made my day when I ran this. It really did. Chelsea second, 1.9. Only 1.9 against Norwich. Right.
That's
City was 4 last week, wasn't it?
Wow. Yeah.
So that just tells you the difference between Norwich and between City and Chelsea at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And Brentford 1.5, and then Manchester United 1.3. So Manchester United against Liverpool, both have positive matchups, attack against defence. That's why I think there could be goals. Defensively, Chelsea, massive standout, 3.4 positive for Chelsea's defence. Followed by City and Brighton, both playing each other. Second and third best defensive matchups playing against each other as well.
Do you really see a 0-0 there?
I'll tell you what I don't see. I saw some odds being thrown around earlier today. I think Abdul posted them, and I queried it straight away. I'm sure I saw Brighton only having a 15% chance of a clean sheet. I think that is massively wrong. I think they're closer to 30% chance of a clean sheet, if you ask me. This could be 1-0.
Mm-hmm.
It could be what I don't see a ton of goals. Now I could be wrong, but this suggests two very, very well drilled units and not a lot of chances. That's me. That's the way I come from it. What about you? What does that say to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Chelsea matchup, and I was looking at the zonal matchup as well against Norwich, and we're all saying Lukaku is an auto captain, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
The metrics are saying something a little bit different, and then I think it's a little surprising that the Salah's matchup is. Per the stats say that Salah's matchup is better than Lukaku's matchup.
Yeah, but then you roll in the fact that he was in the form of his life as well.
Well, that's already rolled into those stats.
Well, that is part of Salah is in there, but yeah, of course. Interestingly enough, people talking about Vardy. They're at Brentford, right? Leicester have a negative attacking fixture difficulty matchup against Brentford, -0.6.
They do, but Vardy is somebody that he's been in our blind spots all season.
Tell me about it. We've all been sleeping on it. We've got him bollocked in it in one of the videos later in this week. When we put our Hauler's Corner on, people were taking the piss out of us for saying thanks for Vardy, right?
Although we did say the one person that was getting was Sam from the Banger podcast, and we told him, hey, Sam's getting them. Everyone just get him. Everyone get him. So we did advise people to get Vardy.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a question here in the chat that's saying why West Ham at 10.
That's just the matchup between West Ham and Spurs. So Spurs and West Ham are quite evenly balanced. So attack against defence. So it's plus 0.3 and minus 0.3, as you can see. So, I still think there'll be goals. I'm not 100% convinced it's a brilliant matchup for them.
And
I think there'll be goals.
And I would add, these are the matchups, right? And then so pair it with take everything with everything else. So there's the zonal matchup to consider as well. Then this is one part. This is one piece of the puzzle.
I have fixed the corner one, the one on the side though this week because it was wrong. It was pulling from the wrong cells. But look at the average matchups, and this is where we'll come back to this one. So your average matchups are your wing backs, sort of attacking defenders who can perhaps get a double. Can get that elusive double return, and Chelsea leap off the page this week. Leap off the page, 3 times better nearly than anybody else with respect to the chance of that elusive double haul. Good luck trying to predict who it is, because I'm not sure I know, and we obviously don't even know the selection tonight, do we? Are they playing? Who are they playing? Is it Malmo? I can't remember.
But hold on. There's a question. I think it is. If not, we'll see. We'll see who's in the lineup who starts. But there's a question here. How are Palace minus 0.4 at home to Newcastle by Capital FPL?
They're not. Oh, hang on. -0.4. Oh, -0.4 against Newcastle. Does Newcastle are 0.4 there? I'll have to look at it, but I'm sure it's right. I'm absolutely sure it's right. I think what you just have to look at is, this is Palace attack, right? Have they just not been creating an awful lot? Probably. So I'd have to look back. So if Palace aren't creating a lot and Newcastle aren't conceding a lot, it'll just be about parity. Two poor sides.
We know Newcastle are conceding quite a bit. I think maybe the thing here with Palace, it could be that Palace is overperforming their stats some. They're not creating a lot, but they are converting. So that could be the explanation for it. That's a good question though.
It is a great question. So what we're going to do now, let's try and answer that question using your stuff.
Let's do it.
So we've done my stuff. So now let's have a quick look at your MXG. So what we'll start with first of all is we'll start with the fixture difficulty for the coming weeks, Gabe. Then once we've done that, then we'll dive into the other bits. So first things first. So if we look at, this is a good thing to compare this game week with what I've just got with yours. All right. So talk us through it. Who's got the best matchups by MXG? You maybe want to explain what MXG is again for people, but then who's got the best and worst matchups.
So just as a refresher here, MXG let's see. I actually wrote something down. So I've been, for those of you, there's no matchups article this week because I've been going over the season-long data for MXG, and I'm actually writing a manual for it. So just to kind of show people how to use it and what goes into it. So it is a performance metric used to examine goal-scoring opportunities and it's a metric that is 88% more accurate in describing game results than XG so far this season in the Premier League. So I went back, and MXG comes closer to the actual result than the XG for that game in 88% of the cases. So just for reference, I'm going to start trying to use this instead of XG since it seems to be more accurate. But here we go. Here are the numbers for Gameweek 9. The best MXG, and this is MXG means matchups XG. The name is a work in progress. If you have any ideas, shout them out. I know Mariner and I have been discussing that for some time.
We've no idea, have we?
No,
I think of anything. No.
There was one that somebody suggested to me, expected conversion, so XC. It's something. We'll see. I think it's still a work in progress. But the
EOB, expected onion bag.
Oh, I like that. That's good. and this goes. It's funny because this goes to I don't remember now who asked that question about Palace and Palace being so low in the FDR, but Palace has the best matchup according to MXG at 1.74 against Newcastle.
Isn't that strange?
Yes, and just so people know that the way MXG is calculated is basically there are three elements to it, and it's designed to kind of encompass the goal scoring opportunity. The first element is XG, which is the pre-shot model, what's going on in the play before the shot is taken. The second element is post-shot XG, or expected goals on target, which is what happens after the shot is taken and how which measures the quality of the shot. And then the last element in this metric is expected goals prevented by the opposing goalkeeper. Put those together, and we get a little number here that can be used in a similar way as XG. So if we're looking at Palace and Newcastle at 1.74, we're expecting probably 2 goals from Palace in this matchup. So they have the best matchup according to MXG, or whatever it's going to be called. The next best matchup is Brentford against Leicester, and I love this. I love that it came out with this because I think Leicester are a team to target. Leicester's defense is targetable. So I was really happy to see Brentford here, and there will be more on that later. The next highest matchup is at 1.6 is Newcastle against Palace, who have been quite leaky. So if we're going 3+ goals, MXG sees goals in that game. Let's just put it that way.
Sorry for the look of shock.
So here's what's interesting. MXG likes Liverpool much less than your metrics, Mariner, and they're down at 1.32. So looking at that game as only just maybe 1, potentially 2 goals, depending on how good their finishing is. And in this case, I think I would pair this with the zonal matchup and increase its potential. So like we said, all of these tools are just they're just a piece of the puzzle, right? It's the way you all managers decide to put them together individually that will help your decision making. You want to comment on that?
Can I just put one point? I mean, the one thing I'd say is 19 out of 20 of these MXGs are between 1 and 2 this week. There's only one of them under 1. Yeah. Only one.
And that's Norwich against Chelsea. And you mentioned in your metric, this is in line with your metrics, how good chance for a Chelsea clean sheet. And I don't think this has happened in MXG all season, where only one is below 1. So if you're looking for clean sheets, MXG would say that you're going to be disappointed unless you own Chelsea defenders.
Are you also saying if you're looking for 2.5 goals or more, you'll also be disappointed this week as well?
I don't think so. Not necessarily, because anything that I think goes over 1.5 or 1.6, there could end up in a goal, depending on the quality of the finishing, depending on how badly the goalkeeper is playing. For example, I have my MXG, like the goalkeepers here. Gw8 has added 3.1 XG to the shot, so he's prevented -3 XG. Schmeichel is kind of playing the same way. Pope as well. Begovic, but so the goalkeepers could have could play a role, and then the finishing could play a role. I think you could look for 2 goals for, even potentially Arsenal, although I wouldn't say that's likely. If Chelsea's at 1.59, Arsenal's at 1.57, they could each have a couple goals. So I think take it with a grain of salt, and also take it with other stats and other observations.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to pick holes in it. I just think it almost. I think my perspective of this is it compresses everything. So it makes poor sides look better, sometimes a little bit better, and good sides perhaps a little bit worse. From my perspective, with respect to my metrics, which seem to stretch it a little bit more. Mine stretch a bit more, whereas yours are a lot more compact. And it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, because, again, last week I was absolutely insistent on City and Liverpool, absolutely insistent looking at those matchups. I've only got one of the 2 right. But the Liverpool one, and I think we'll come on to that in a second when we look at the retrospective analysis of the of MXG. But it'd be worth having a look at that Liverpool game and see how that actually played out in relation to, obviously, the score that we obviously know what it was. Right. Just very quickly, longer range, Gabe. Who's bad? Well, Burnley. Is it 0.6? Am I right in saying? Where are we? I'm missing. Oh, hang on a minute. What have I done here? I think I've got this wrong. Anyway, not to worry. So who's bad looking at this?
In the long range outcome, Burnley at 1.2.
Yeah, so we've got Burnley 1.2, Norwich 1.2, Brighton 1.3, Villa 1.3. Yeah. Some very strange one. I'm going to have to dig back at that and have another look at that. I'm not sure if that's miscalculating. I think it might be. Let me come back to you on that one. But anyway, not to worry. Okay. It's still work in progress, as we say. Let's keep going and look at this next slide. I'm particularly interested in this because I hope you can see it, guys, because this is the retrospective analysis, Gabe. So just talk us through this. Obviously this is looking at it from what's happened in the past.
Yes. So this is a kind of a descriptive, right? This is looking at the metrics descriptively. So what this does is it's game weeks 1 through 8, and it's comparing MXG, what the MXG said. So retrospectively, what the MXG said, of the game, what the XG said of the certain game, and then how many goals were scored. And what I did is I compared. I saw on the right hand side, I listed who was the winner. Which did MXG get closer to the actual result, or did XG describe the actual result? And just as a reminder, these aren't predictions. This is going back, looking at what happened in the game. The games have their XG, and then I calculated the MXG, and we see game week 1, MXG was more accurate, was closer to the actual result than XG. In 95% of cases. In game week 2, it was 90%. Game week 3, it was 95%. Game week 4, it was 90%. Game week 5, it was 90%. Game week 6, and we'll talk about this one, is 65%, so quite a drop that game week. Game week 7 was 85%. And then last game week, MXG was closer to the actual result than XG in 97.5%. And that's every single one except for one in which it was tied, where the MXG and the XG were the same. The yellow, so if a team is highlighted in yellow, that means that I want to track, are there certain teams that constantly break MXG that do it on a regular basis? So I highlighted those teams in yellow.
we all have those who break things, right?
Exactly. United's in there. I'll be keeping my eye on United. And then the blue is where XG got not predicted, sorry, but just where the XG and the goals scored were exactly the same. So those are the 4 in blue there. One, it's interesting to note when comparing MXG and XG, XG is typically closer to the score when there are very few kind of external factors playing a role in a play. So when referees, defenders, goalkeepers,
Yeah.
particularly
Oh,
good or particularly poor finishing. When it's just kind of you get what you see. A play has an XG. That shot doesn't add or take away from it. The goalkeeper doesn't add or take away from that. Then the XG will be closer to the goals. But when there are other things happening, which there usually are, or at least according to MXG, there are in 88% of the times, then MXG is closer to the actual result.
I mean, look, the interesting thing I'm looking at here, Gabe, is, for example, let's look at Liverpool, because that was the one I was really interested in, right?
Okay.
So Liverpool's XG last week was 3.15. We know they scored 5 goals. The MXG was 4.85. Of course, that's retrospective. That's after the event. That's not a prediction, like you said.
Right.
But if we take this data, which is far closer to the actual goals scored or conceded, then eventually this thing's going to learn, isn't it? That's the way I look at it. It's going to learn.
Well, what do you mean by that?
Well, it's ultimately, if we plug this, the MXG data, which is closer to the actual result than XG, ultimately, it's going to give us a better indication of what might happen.
Yes,
when you're comparing when you're comparing eggs with eggs. I know we can never take away the fact you've got these variables, the Mike Dean factor or whatever you want to call it, or the Brodge factor. But looking at that, I see, because I think Liverpool's prediction was quite a long way away from 4.85.
Right. Yeah. So
a long way away.
It's the point. Predictively, it's going to be as good as any other like single stat, like as XG by itself. But
till it learns.
Until it learns. Well, there's that. Yes, and then just you can use this if this truly continues to be 88% better than XG. I just use it instead of XG.
I reckon by the time we get to another 8 to 10 weeks of this, look at it by the time we get to Christmas, for sake of argument. If we get to it by Christmas and it's doing this, I'm going to start predicting results.
Okay, that'll be fun.
I'm going to start trying to predict scores. I say there's all sorts. There's a lot of interesting things in the chat. There's some very, very interesting things, and I think Gabe, everybody here absolutely loves it.
There's excitement about it. When this,
Dan said, I would suggest to put the actual match results beside the matchup starting from next week. I think it would be nice to see what we predicted it to be and what it actually was. And then we see whether the prediction and the actual starts to draw together. Are we getting a wide delta to start with? And is it going to move in? That's what I'd expect it to do.
That's interesting. I think as for a predictive model, I think we run that on the side. It's very easy. We want to just jump to prediction, but I think there's a lot to learn beforehand. Even just working on this model this past week, I learned a lot about what it means, what the coefficients mean, and what it's telling. So I'd feel comfortable. You know how my aversion to predictions, Mariner. I would feel more. You do. I'm sure everyone does at this point.
Well, you don't predict.
I don't, and so I just feel.
We don't we don't call you Sleepy Joe Gabe for nothing, right?
I just feel more comfortable kind of mastering the metric a little bit more and seeing and just observing how it changes and evolves. I missed that comment on there that you put.
No, it was just from Richie Milburn. He said this MXG would be good for the Sky Super 6. That's predicting 6 scores on Sky in the UK. If you get it right, you win a pot of cash. So good luck, everybody. It's free to enter as well. And
the metric is free, like all of our stuff. So
absolutely,
that's a good combination.
Ray, our friend of the show, this MXG is game changing. Yeah, I think it probably is, Ray. Actually, I think that's the point. It could be very helpful in the future, and I think let's be fair, it still could be. We're still learning. We don't know whether this thing is going to be game changing, but. It's at the moment it's looking pretty hopeful. Nick, I agree with you. And will this be up on your thread, Gabe? Are you putting this onto your Twitter?
So yes, I don't know if if the thread will be ready this week. What I'm going to do is I'm writing a manual for it. So it's a different type of writing for me. It's some technical writing, just showing kind of where it comes from, and then I'll peel back the algorithm for everybody, and you guys can just have your way with it. So we'll also record a VOD. Is that right, Mariner? We're gonna
do we're gonna do a 20-minute. We were planning on doing it this week, but I think things have got away from us.
Yeah.
With one thing and another. I think we've both had issues again this week. We're lucky we're even recording tonight, quite frankly. But yeah, I think the idea is to do like a 20-minute sort of like evergreen show or VOD on this, and then this will sit somewhere on the net, that whole channel, and you'll be able to come and get it whenever you want.
What I can do for the predictions this week is I can post the predictions, so people haven't. I'll post them as predictions per the. I'll put the predictions up.
I reckon there'll be lots of 1-1s. Sleepy Joe.
Okay.
Hadafe, the MXG should be called the actual XG.
That I like it, and I like the sentiment. I just feel it's a little strong because MXG relies on XG, and XG and comparing MXG to XG I think is a useful exercise. So XG still has value, and so yeah, I don't want to tear down XG. I just want to replace it.
And FPL Pepsi, who's coming up on the show, actually, he's got a question for us. I think these numbers can't be down to sample size, really. It looks really promising. So, well, let's hope so, mate. I really do. All right, Gabe, let's move us back so that we can see again, because I needed to just zoom that screen out so that you can see it.
Let me just say one thing. I just want to thank, it's really nice to hear all these great comments and get this kind of support from the haulers. I'm really excited about this. You know that, Mariner, and just to see, it's exciting other people. It's cool. It's cool.
Fabulous. Wish they'd get so excited about my stuff.
Oh, Mariner, we love you.
I had to go fishing for retweets yesterday. Oh, crikey. Anyway, right. The Alchemist. Who is it this week? It's Brian Mbuemo.
No.
Or shall we say my new name for him? I've got 3 names for him now. Mr. M.
Mm-hmm.
Or Woodworkio. I quite like that one.
Woodworkio.
Or perhaps Bamboo.
Bamboo? No, you can't say Mbambo.
Why? No, bamboo, as in wood. Bamboo, the wood. Get it?
Okay.
Bamboo. I quite like that one, but I can't claim that one. But anyway, there we go.
I like Woodworkio.
Woodworkio, yeah. So Andy, I know I'll keep trying it. Do you know what? I've just given up. I don't care what I say anymore. Everyone laughs at me, so it's perfect.
So the Alchemist, yes. So he's French, right? Brian Mbuemo is.
Someone said, what is it? The EU is like as in hour.
And when you say it's
Mbuemo.
We can just call him Boomo.
Boomo.
Yeah, Boomo. I like that. All right, so Boomo.
Boomo, Posto, Uo, Hito. Lopto.
Mbuemo. I love Mbuemo. I do. He's been a lot of fun to watch. I feel bad that he's hit the post so much, but here's the quote from the Alchemist this week. If you're brave enough to say goodbye, life will reward you with a new hello. So I chose. You always laugh at the quotes. I love that.
God, that was a bit deep, Gabe.
Yeah, I've been feeling quite philosophical while I'm here in Portland for some reason. So the reason I chose this quote is, it's say goodbye to the old budget midfielders and make way for the Alchemist this week. A player with whom I've been enamored since Gameweek 1 versus Arsenal. You can insert evil laugh here, Mariner. Mbuemo has hit the frame of goal a league high 6 times in 8 matches, which is crazy. Brentford are 3rd this week in my MXG metric, and Leicester have conceded the most chances from the left zone. They've conceded 41 chances from that zone compared to only 23 from the center where the talisman Tony plays. I almost went with Tony as the Alchemist, and then I saw the zonal matchup, and I had to go with Mbuemo. So as we've explained in previous episodes and matchups articles, Brentford set up in a tactical design that isolates Mbuemo on the right, which would be Leicester's left, and they don't attack much from and they don't attack much from the left side. I like Mbuemo to free himself from the shackles of the woodwork and find some pay dirt this game week, Mariner.
I reckon he lit the post again. He can't keep it in.
It's going in. It's going in.
I mean, this is the point. This is always the same. I mean, are we getting? We're getting to the. we're getting to Watkins' level of post hitting, are we?
Banger says
the carpenter's apprentice.
That's right, the carpenter's apprentice. Banger says apt quote since Brian says hello each week to a new part of the woodwork.
He's great though. I love it. I absolutely love him. I think he's a great player. I can't wait to own him.
He's a lot of fun.
I've just got to decide whether to bring him in this week for Smith Rowe. Can't stand him. Get rid of him. I don't know why I got him in Wildcard.
You didn't listen to me. That's why I told you. Arsenal midfielders. The zonal matchup wasn't there. The stats weren't there.
Another waste of a transfer for the Mariner. Anyway, right. Let's keep going. So that's your Alchemist. So now what we're going to do is we're going to have a quick look at the predictions for this week. And it is quick because we've already covered most of it anyway. So what we're doing is just very quickly just summarising where we are with our predictions for this week. So the first one, Chelsea, 2.5 goals. Well, hello. I don't think anybody guessed that one. 53% chance, according to those in the know, of 2.5 goals or more. Chelsea are ranked 5th at home, attack with 2.4, but stuttering, as I said. Against 18th ranked defence in Norwich at 4.4. They've got the second best matchup by fixture difficulty. They've got the 4th best by MXG. And Chelsea's right looks like the place to be, according to, although it's fairly balanced, but maybe a little bit more down the right. Please, Azpilicueta, do not rest this week. Please do not rotate this week. I've already... I'm going to come on to Azpilicueta in a minute, but I've been fishing for some solace on Twitter. Thankfully, FPL Tips actually gave me some solace. Thankfully, I was all set to burst into tears last night.
Chelsea fan too, so you know his information is solid.
The point. That's why I went hunting. That's why I went hunting into into our content creators group on Twitter. Let's try and find some answers. So anyway, Chelsea 2.5 goals. I think that's fairly solid. I think that's a good one. And look, we're also going to go with Chelsea keeping a clean sheet. And I think this is even more solid, personally, than Chelsea getting 2.5 goals. 4th best defence at home, 2.5. Not, with a slightly, going a little bit the other way with respect to their performance. So they're not quite as good, but they're basically up against the very worst in Norwich. I wasn't joking when I said Norwich would be last on match of the day the other week. It was a guarantee, It's by far the best matchup for defence, 3.4. MXG is by far the worst for Norwich by a distance at 0.7. But that's my question again. 0.7. That suggests a couple of decent chances. Or one good chance.
Yeah, I mean it does, and I think, and I mentioned how I was surprised that Norwich was quite high in one of your metrics and for attack, right? I think they were up around 12th or something like that. They weren't at the bottom. However, what I would say is, and that's something I've kind of learned just within the few weeks I've been doing the MXG is, you take the 0.7, and if it's a team like, I don't know, even a mid-table kind of team or something like that, like, Leicester or even Palace, I would say, well, they're finding some form. I would bump that up to the goal. But then if it's a team that's just not a very good team, right, then I would probably move that down too. So use your own evaluation of the team to see if you should go up to to the goal for Norwich, or if you should go down to the clean sheet. And in this case, I would be inclined to say, look, it says 0.7, but it is Norwich, it is Chelsea, and I would say that's going to be closer to the 0 than the 1.
Okay, fair enough. You know me, I'm going to question it though, because that looks
and we should have every single week. And who knows, Norwich comes in with a goal, then we've learned something new about MXG. I'm like, well, if it is that close to 1, then that's telling you a goal.
I think if Norwich score, there is going to be uproar this weekend. Let's face it.
I'll be happy because
there's comments here that FPL Pepsi, you're not going to trick me into starting. Of course I'm not, mate. No chance. No way. Tell you what I am going to do, though, is I'm going to talk about Azpilicueta and James just a little bit here, because this is my worry. As an Azpilicueta owner, and as I mentioned when I spoke to Harry, FPL Tips last night in the group, and I said, come on, Harry, do me a favour. Tell me, is Azpilicueta under threat of rotation? And he said, they all are, but probably him and Rudiger are the best two to have. That was his words. My concern is, and again, if you look at Azpilicueta's numbers, they look great, or look pretty good for, he's getting to decent positions. This is home fixtures this year. 0.33 big chances per 90, 0.11 XG, 0.18 XA, only 14% goal involvement, but it's spread around, right? In Chelsea, it always is. But then if you look at Reece James's numbers from last season, and that's all home fixtures from that, because obviously he's not played yet this year. Look at his numbers: 0.28 big chances, 0.25 XG, 0.33 XA, and 32% involvement. So, he's by far the bigger threat to me if he plays. And is he going to play? And if he plays, am I then looking at just, a centre half rather than somebody who's attacking down that wing? But I still think I want to be on that Chelsea. I still want to be on that Chelsea defender. And I think as much as anything this week, I just want someone to play, quite frankly. Because if I get the wrong one and they do keep a clean sheet, it's going to hurt, right?
I think today's lineup is going to tell us a lot. But you could see what I like about Azpilicueta here is he gets moved from wing back to center back. So you do get owning him. One, you're more assured that he'll start than some of the other defenders other than Rudiger. And secondly, he maybe half the time or whatever percentage of the time, I don't know, but does get some attacking. And when he goes forward, he's kind of stays forward, doesn't he? Stays around that box. So, and that's why that's what we see with the numbers here, especially the big chances per 90. That's quite encouraging. And then the Reece James experience is an interesting one, because when you see him, when the lineups come out and he's in that starting lineup, it's so exciting because his ceiling is so ridiculously high. You could really haul.
I think Lukaku's crying out for him as well. I would love to see Lukaku, James, and Aspi all start this weekend. And then James goes off after 60 minutes because he's just coming back to fitness. And Aspi then moves out onto that wing for the last half hour.
It's not asking for much at all, Mariner.
That would be really nice, wouldn't it? And as Ray says, Aspi's club captain as well, which is the important thing for Dave.
Yeah.
So I agree. So hopefully, I think it's a worthwhile conversation. I think I'm quite happy owning him in a funny way. I think Rudiger getting injured actually forced me to keep Azpilicueta. And now I look at it and I think, having checked out what I've, and again, I'm no Chelsea expert, so I have to rely on other people. By what I've heard, I'm a lot happier than I was, I have to say.
I think Aspi is a great asset.
Yeah.
Really good.
Okay. Right. Next one, predicted clean sheet. I'm going to go with Manchester City. I'm going to go with them for a clean sheet. And the reason for that, quite simply, is they are the best ranked defence away from home. Brighton are not that great attacking. They're ranked 11th, and they're not so good. They're getting worse as well. The MXG is 1.02, Gabe. It maybe suggests Brighton might get something again, but they've got to get the ball first.
Yeah, I mean, they have to get the ball first. I mean, I think, playing at home, they've been consistent. But I think what MXG doesn't take into account is your VAR, Mariner, and that they're getting worse. So they could show up to this is a snapshot of what has happened so far this season for Brighton, right? The MXG 1.02. Right. Yeah. And it does not take into account what their delta is, like the direction they're going. If they show up and they continue to be going downhill from an attacking point standpoint, then they very well could end up with 0 goals.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll go with that. And that's all the predictions that are out for this week because, to be quite frank, I looked at your MXG and I thought I'm not predicting anything else. Really didn't want to. I looked at it, I thought, no, I'm hiding for nothing here. I'm going to get absolutely clobbered.
My MXG is turning you into another Sleepy Joe.
It's turning me into a real boring person because I actually think everything's going to be 1-0 and 1-1. 1-1 and 2-1, either way. But we'll see. Guys, let's just have 30 seconds whilst I just play this little clip all about FPL, and we'll just refresh our vocal cords, and we'll be back. Bear with us.
Are you craving more FPL content? Then look no further than allaboutfpl.com. Head over there for weekly articles from some of the top content creators on the planet. So what are you waiting for? Head over to allaboutfpl.com. the website for all your FPL needs.
Righty-ho. So now it's time to have a look at the algorithm, which we'll do right now. All right. So how are we doing algorithm-wise? Well, somebody asked earlier on, didn't they? I can't remember who it was, but it scored 69 points. It did really well, even with the benchings. So what did it do? It was obviously Captain Salah. It had Mane as well. It got Sanchez, Cancelo. There we go. I'm getting it right now. Alexander-Arnold, Laporte, Duffy, all returned. Then it didn't do very well. It's doing well in defence and not very well up the top, apart from, although, to be honest, I don't think many people did very well up front this last couple of weeks.
No.
Morpie, Lukaku, and then Elan and Ben White. Enough said. They came in just to fill in the blanks at the for the players who were missing. But 69 points, and so 20 points over average, which is pretty good. But of course, it is like a free hit side. So, but I think if you're looking for, how can I put this? If you're looking for should we say trends, which you might make you think about why you want one player, or you might think, do you know what? I'm going to double up on them. I'm actually going to have a double up at defence. I'm going to stack my defence, as they say in another format. So, which we're not going to talk about. So, right. What's the algorithm going to do this week? Well, it has gone with Sarr in goal. Interestingly enough. Aspilicueta, Rudiger, Trent, and Duffy. Duffy against Manchester City? Is it drunk?
Algo's been drinking, Mariner.
Is it drunk? It's not in no particular order. It went Jota, Greenwood, Salah, and Pogba. So it really fancies goals in that game.
Hold on, it's starting Duffy over Livramento?
Yep. More goal threats, clearly.
Goal threat.
That's how it thinks. Anyway, I don't know why it's stupid. Anyway, it seems to work. It
has been working.
Play anyway. He'll be in the team by the time all these substitutes come on. You watch. It's a guarantee. But look at the midfield. Look. Jota, Greenwood, Salah, and Pogba.
Goals.
It fancies goals in that game. That's why I said earlier on, I think there's goals in there. The Algo likes it for goals. It doesn't like defense. It doesn't like either Liverpool or Manchester United defense. Doesn't like them. And Lukaku, Tony, and Hwang to fill in the blanks up top. Captain-wise, it's just sneaked Salah over Aspilicueta. That's interesting, isn't it? How close was Aspilicueta to tip Salah off there? That's that fixture difficulty. It's so good. It's so good. Nothing more. It has to be that. Anyway, let's see
I think we can smell the hauler. We can smell the defensive hauler coming.
I think we can smell how the Algo's drunk, as Hibbo says. Yeah, it's definitely drunk. I agree with you. But I wish I was. Right, the next one, the captaincy metric. How are we doing? Well, we're back on track, boys. 128 points now, 16 points per game week, but we have blanked 3 times. Admittedly, very unluckily. I was really angry about last week, as you know. With Lukaku, that could have been oh so different, and I think then we'd be looking at the algorithm doing very, very well indeed. I just took a quick screenshot of the Mo's goal there.
So nice.
I mean, oh wow, you know,
poor Danny
Rose.
Rose.
Right? Who was that? Who's that there? Is it Milner?
It looks like Milner.
I think it's Milner going.
He knows right away.
He's going, just give me the ball, Mo, please. But anyway, yeah, so there we go. That's how we're doing with that. The captain metric. The captain poll has put Lukaku out on the top by a distance. Now, that's interesting because we're going to come on to the captaincy metric any second now. And from my perspective, I'm not sure about this. I really aren't. But saying that, it looks like, you know, the poll, they're going to be a big captaincy push for him unless he plays 90 minutes tonight. If he plays 90 minutes tonight, that might change. I don't know what your perspective is for it. What do you think?
Oh, man. I think a lot of people, I think we had all planned on captaining Lukaku. It was seared into our minds from game weeks past, like Lukaku, home, Norwich. It's a no-brainer. And we just didn't know how good Liverpool would be, how good, what good form Salah would be in. I don't know if I can go away from Salah.
No, I know. I'm the same.
And then they you know, Chelsea plays today, Liverpool played yesterday, Chelsea plays again on Saturday. More rest for Liverpool. I think for me it'll be Salah, but I'm curious. I'm going Salah. Well,
you don't know, and you do not know what the metric's done because I didn't tell you what it was.
You didn't tell me. And I've been following the metric all season, so if the metric tells me otherwise, I may go with the metric. But my inclination is Salah. Come on, stop.
Have a look.
Can't keep us waiting.
Get the suspenders out. Keep you all in suspenders. That's rude, isn't it? Right, hang on. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. When I get the right screen up, I frantically flicked past 3 screens and flew back 2, and they went forward 1 again. Bloody useless. It's Mo Salah. Mo Salah tops the metric and miles by a
massively
distance as usual. And I mean, look, let's face it, it's not as high as he was last week because it was 105 last week.
Yeah. The highest it's ever been, I think. That's
still very high, 90, right? I mean, these are the numbers that I took off the people in the know earlier as well regarding goals and assists. You know, look at 62% last I looked at. It does change very slightly. I think they just adjust it slightly as they get closer to kick off, but that's what it was when I did them. His fixture difficulty is very good, still 116.3. He's got 4 double returns now, and he's got 10 occasions of single returns in the last 12 games.
I mean,
he's Mr. Consistent. He is rightly top of that metric. I don't like Manchester United defence. Personally, I think I will be going with a metric. I think I will be going with a metric this week.
There's a good comment here by FPL Rubber Ducky. He says, comparing Salah to Lukaku, Rom could be a decent enough shout just owning him. And if you're thinking about the effective ownership game and Lukaku's ownership is under 100, he may have a point there because Salah is going to be over 100 for sure. And you don't want their hauls to be working against you. So you want all your hauls to be working for you. Let's put it that way. And in that spirit, I think Salah's the call. I'm glad. I'm relieved. The metric is going Salah.
Look, basically his leg's got to fall off for him not topping the metric in the next few weeks.
He's a dream.
He's almost a perma. He's almost a perma metric. for the next few weeks. I don't think there's going to be many people get anywhere near him.
He's approaching the level of his first season with Liverpool.
He's approaching. Absolutely. I would go as far as saying I think he's the best player on the planet at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
That's my perspective. No,
you should watch some Real Madrid games. Benzema might have something else to say.
Andy Martin. Look at the Atletico game.
Yeah.
He still hauls a tough game.
That game had everything.
Great points, and I think a few bits of relief as well with FPL. Siver is just happy that it's Mo who's the metric picked out. But no, I mean, look, it's dominated by Liverpool and Chelsea assets. Aspie there, look, is 5th in the metric. He's showing the potential value of that full-back pick, of that wing-back pick. Mm-hmm. So I'm not telling people to go away from it, but if you're just feeling a little bit, I don't know, a bit fruity, if you fancy doing something a bit different, and you think, you know what, I might have a little go on Chilwell or someone like that. If providing you think he's going to start, I don't think it's a bad shout at all this week. I really don't. It's not very often I will tip up captains, players who are defenders as a captaincy pick. I think this is one of those weeks. But I personally, I think EO and everything and things like that. I think Mo is probably the man for me. Interestingly enough, because I own Azpilicueta, I'm also thinking, can I cover Lukaku? Because if Azpilicueta gets something in an attacking return, and perhaps if he combines with Lukaku, that then almost neutralises it. And it almost neutralises the captain.
That's an interesting point and an interesting perspective. And we'll talk more about Chelsea and the way they set up and how those wing backs are so important and just a little bit when we get to the questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, let's very quickly, before we get to the questions, let's quickly look at some team plans. We wanted to do that this week. So I'm going to put my team up, and I've been messing around with my team. You'll all be loved to see, look. We're all black and white now. Up the Mariners, still top of the National League, and flying 5-0 in the cup against Bromsgrove, whoever they are. But anyway, so look, I've got team file of 102.2. I've got one free transfer. My team is at the moment this is my bus team, although it's on Lukaku. Ramsdale in goal, Cancelo, Trent, Azpilicueta, and Diaz, Benrahma, Salah, Rafinha, Jimenez, Antonio, and Lukaku. And bench at the moment, bench order is Livramento, Smith Rowe, and Brownhill. Still can't quite decide what to do with Benrahma. Double West Ham worries me a little bit. But I've got one free transfer. What do I want? I want Brentford assets. When do I want them? Now. Or very soon. I'm not sure I need to make a move this week. I feel like I can roll this week, actually.
I like all your starters. I think that you're definitely in a great place to roll.
Yeah. So
anybody you would bring in, then you would have a benching headache.
Thinking, look, am I better off just holding back 2 transfers next week? I've only taken one hit so far this season. Mm-hmm. So if I needed, let's say, how can I say that? Let's say Mane goes completely mad and Lukaku bombs next week. Do I do that -4 and go Salah and Mane? I am thinking about it. Mm-hmm. And if that's the case, then I've got those extra transfers and maybe a -4 to play around with it to be able to get to him. Mm-hmm. It is something which is in the back of my mind, just in case. So I think holding the transfer actually might help me a little bit. So that's me. My problems, Smith Rowe and Ramsdale. My problems are Arsenal assets at this moment and West Ham assets. But I'm still thinking Antonio's a hold. Benrahma, I really hope he's a hold, but I've got a feeling he might not be.
You might lose him. He's fine for this week. Maybe.
Possibly. Your team, Gabe, I didn't really get much chance because you were asleep when I did this, but that was your team. That was your team last week.
Yeah.
What are you thinking about doing with yours? So you've got Sanchez in goal. You've got Cancelo as well, Diaz, Semedo, Trent, and Livramento. You had Gray, Sarr, and Salah across midfield, and you had Traore on the bench with Sissoko as well. And up front, sorry, I didn't mean to laugh. You've got Ron and Luck up front, and Will Scarlett.
So I don't know what my plans are just yet. I want to sell Ronaldo, but I'm, even going something like Sarr to Mbuemo might be my transfer. I have one free transfer. I think that would be the one that I would favor. Demarai Gray, I think I liked what I saw from Demarai Gray last game.
Did I hear a rumor he's injured or ill or out?
Oh, there's someone in the chat. Let us know. Exactly. I have not heard that.
Maybe I saw something out the corner of my eye earlier on today, and then went to look for it, and I didn't see he was flagged. But I thought there might be a problem with Gray. But if somebody can let us know, it might not be a bad idea. Look, for me, obviously Doucouré is out now, isn't he? He's out for a few. Has he broke his foot or something? So that's another Everton injury. Obviously, Watford are struggling. I thought Gray. I thought it was something with Gray. I might be wrong. Traore, what are you going to do with him?
I know, because I think he's going to start against Leeds, right? Because on that Trincao is, I'm sure, still has COVID, right?
Yeah.
He won't be cleared for the weekend, so I can't. Yeah, I won't sell Traore yet. He's, I think from my midfield, the one to go would be Sarr. Unless Gray is injured, of course. So
I don't know what they're saying. Maybe I read the wrong thing. Maybe I was half asleep when I saw it. But people are saying nothing.
Yeah,
that's
people
the
say
case.
nothing.
Maybe just me just losing my mind. It's not unusual.
So my transfer is probably Sarr to the Alchemist.
Okay.
Very simple. I was thinking of maybe a hit kind of thing with Ronaldo, and then upgrading elsewhere, but I don't think I need to go there just yet, especially since what we talked about earlier about goals in that game.
So fancy a bit of Firmino. You're not thought about Firmino, have you?
But going Ronaldo to Firmino and keeping Sarr. Well, Sarr would be bench, and Traore would.
I'm just thinking the fixtures are so good for Liverpool. I do like the idea of being on that second attacker if I could. The worry is, of course, is that I think that's why I quite like Mane. I think I'd sooner pay that bit more to be certain of those starts. That would be my perspective.
And one reason I don't mind holding off on selling Ronaldo is because I'm not sure who to get yet. Gabriel Jesus might be a good option, right? If Firmino nails that position, and I mean he's not going to, right? He's going to rotate with Jota pretty much most likely all season, so that might probably not an option. But there are several options kind of emerging. So do I go down to Tony, for example? That somebody I really wanted. Great fixtures coming up. That gives me a ton of money to spend in midfield.
I wouldn't be at all worried about plopping him in and playing him this week either.
Exactly, but certainly not for a hit. But the other player that I would love to own is Iheanacho.
He's on my radar now.
7 million.
He's on my radar. Yeah,
incredible value. If he's nailed, it'll be between him and Tony for I think the best value forwards.
Yeah, I think so. I think it just depends whether Antonio. If there is a little window where you could perhaps consider if you go off Antonio. The trouble is if you went away from Antonio, would you ever be able to afford to get him back? That's the problem, because
I actually expect Antonio's price to drop soon. Yeah, I think people are going to start selling him. He's difficult run of fixtures. There are other assets emerging on the front line, and he hasn't returned in blanked in 2 straight, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Is that right? Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So, right, let's crack on. We've got these the haulers corners. So we've got 3 clips this week. We've got FPL Pagey, we've got FPL Pepsi, and we've got Donny FPL starring today. So here comes the first one from FPL Pagey. I'm guessing, well, I know exactly where he's from because you only need to listen.
G'day from down under, haulers. Loving the show. Keep up the great work. Thanks for talking me out of Vardy last week, by the way. Anyway, my first question is, what are you going to do with Mahrez this week? And my second question is, Mane versus Son for the longer haul. Anyway, go the tune. How are the lads?
It's a bit quiet, that. I don't know whether it was just me it came out quiet, but it sounded fine earlier. So anyways, the first question, just in case it was a bit quiet for you, is Mahrez. What does he do with Mahrez?
That's a tough question. It's a lot of money. There are better assets, aren't there? He played a full. Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't feel comfortable having my money in Mahrez moving forward. I liked him last game week for one game week, but the uncertainty is, and he doesn't seem on. I don't know. Obviously, I don't know.
I can't remember what his second question was. Can you? He's already supposed to ask one. What was his second question?
No, I mean, well, one he thanked you. That one was directed to you for talking him out of Vardy.
I can't remember what it was. Do we need to play it again?
You need to play it again.
Can someone listen back and tell us what his question was? We're going to move on and we're going to come back to it. Let's listen to the next question. We need someone to tell us in the chat.
Hello guys, my name is William. I'm a big fan of That Hole. My question is regarding Lukaku. Obviously, he's not been firing as of late. And I think a lot of it has to do with the formation that Chelsea have been playing, a 3-5-2, which, they've been imposing themselves somewhat. They have controlled the game somewhat, but they've really been struggling for creativity. So my question is, if Tuchel keeps playing this 3-5-2 formation versus even garbage opposition like Norwich, do you think there's a case to drop him for game week 10? Thank you, and keep up the good work.
Wow, right, okay. The 3-5-2 and Lukaku. What to do?
So I guess William that's FPL Pepsi.
It is.
Nice. Thanks for the question. So whether he sticks with a 3-5-2, he goes to a 3-4-2-1 or 3-4-3 or whatever it is. I think the problem with Lukaku is the service. He's so Chilwell and Reece James are the best crossers of the ball on at those wingback positions. So I'm not sure if it's so much a question of tactics and formation as much as it is a question of player ability in the areas that can get Lukaku the ball. Ideally, as a Lukaku owner, I would be excited if I saw Chilwell on the left, Reece James on the right, with Azpilicueta and behind Reece James. I think that would really change everything. Yeah, I think I would look at it that way. And from the midfield, when earlier on in the season when they were starved for service, the creativity was coming from Kovacic. That's a red flag. when your creativity is coming from Kovacic, it's not a good thing. I think, but Tuchel is a tactical genius. The guy knows what he's doing, and I would trust him to settle his side. And I think the reason Lukaku maybe looks out of form is he's not getting consistent services consistently. So he'll slow down. His game has to change, and then a service comes, and there's no fluidity to the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Right. The other question for Pagey was Mane or Son for the longer term. Now, thank you very much for the chat, for the comments, just to put us back on. It's getting late in Singapore, and I've had a particularly harrowing last 24 hours. You don't need to know about it. Yeah. That's one reason why I'm forgetting all this stuff. Mane or Son for the longer term. Do you know what? I think that's a tough question. That's actually quite a tough question. I'll tell you why. Mane, our friend here, look, the forgotten man. We're sleeping on this guy, although he's not hauled. And that's the key. He's returned, 6 out of 8 times?
Yeah.
But he's not hauled. And I think that's the only thing stopping people leaping on him. I really do. 1.12 big chances per 90, 0.63 XG, 0.26 XA per 90. Expected goal involvement for Liverpool, 33% of all those goals that they score is involved in 33% of them. I don't stress it. I really do consider him as being forgotten.
I think
really like the idea. If Lukaku slips up, I may pull the trigger on that one. I think Lukaku is very close to going down the loo.
I don't know about that. I think for Lukaku, I think being patient is the key there, and just run him through those easy fixtures and then get rid of him. But I think one of the problems with Mane is his price as well. You know, he's at 11.9 million at the moment. Started the season at 12, and for that price and no hauls, it's a tough sell. Of the two players, I don't know. I think I would go elsewhere.
I mean, look, the one thing I'll say about Son is that, as I've said, is there was always going to be this likelihood that Spurs are going to wake up. Now, Spurs have woken up, and they've got good fixtures going on game week 12 onward.
But why do you say Spurs have woken up?
Well,
it's one match against Newcastle.
Mate, don't mark my words. Remember what I said about Harry Kane. I always say this. He needs to get a goal. Once he gets a goal, boom, off he goes. I think Kane needs one double return now between now and 12, and everybody will be on him in 12. Everybody and his uncle.
In 12 when the fixtures change so definitely an option. I wouldn't be looking at Spurs just yet. I think it's a little early.
John makes a great point. You're never going to captain Mane, but Son you are always going to prefer Kane. I don't know. I think Son is a captaincy shout. I think I have captained Mane before. I did last game of the season last year. Actually, he won me a mini league.
Yeah.
It's not the most stupid thing to do, but anyway, let's.
But I think given form this year, right. I can't see myself captaining Son or Mane over Salah. So either one. So I think
definitely not. Absolutely agree with you. Absolutely agree with you. So if you've got somebody that expensive, why? If you're not going to captain him, why bother? Fair point. Right. Let's have a listen to Donny. I think this is a little bit tongue in cheek, Gabe, but I think you'll like it.
Hey everybody at Net That Haul. Hope everybody's doing well. Big hi here from Ireland. My dilemma this week, as I was just out for a run, was who do I put on the bench? It's critical we have a good bench and the right order. So I need your help in what sequence I put these folks in my bench. Brownhill, TAA and Salah. Come on, United.
I don't know what's wrong with the sound. I don't know whether it's me with the sound or whether it's you. Did it sound clear to you?
It's a little soft, but I could hear it perfectly fine.
Yeah, well,
no issues.
I hope everybody picked it because mine's quiet. I think I've turned mine down a bit because I was worried I was going to feedback a bit. So maybe it's just my speaker. But yeah, what do you say? Pick my bench for me. Mane, Brownhill and Sal. No, Trent, Brownhill and Salah. Then he said, yeah, come on United.
Come on United.
So clearly he thinks Manchester United are going to whoop Liverpool's ass. And he's absolutely convinced he's going to bench. He's convinced he's going to bench his Liverpool assets.
Haulers have to hold him to that.
Donny, we know it's bollocks. We know you're not going to do this. But look, if we're going to do it, what are we going to do? Well, I think the first player who's first on my bench is Mo Salah. Second on my bench will be Trent. And third will be Mr. 2 Points.
There's your answer. Just make sure that the players you're playing are not going to play. You know, make sure you have like a Will Scarlett or something like that, so you can get the real players in there.
Yeah, Brownhill Town. Sorry about the noise if it's not too great. The sound. Sorry about that. Right, questions, Gabe. We need to get some questions in before we disappear. Let's do 5 minutes of questions and then get out of here.
Okay.
So what we got? Let's try and see if. There's got Hardy one here. Hardy's got a question. Should I bench Diaz for Livera since he played in the UCL? Stress.
No.
Can't bench Diaz.
No. Can't do it.
No. I agree. Next, what else have we got? Let's have a look. Oh, FPL Rubber Duck is getting excited about my curtains. I do hate people. At least we've got to a point. At least nobody's called it Net the Hall this week. Anyway, so that's a bonus. That's handy.
You've been heard, Mariner.
No
Your rants.
No rants this week. Although I've been ranting all week. Right. What else have we got? We've got any other questions here? Oh my! I'm sort of flying down here trying to see questions. Did you see any, Gabe?
There's some coming in at the bottom.
Alonso, keep or sell? Wait till later.
Yeah, wait till the lineups today.
Cancelo, risk imminent. Oh, rest imminent.
Rest imminent. I mean, he will be rested at some point.
If there's one thing which will cause me to rant this weekend, it's that. Or in fact, no, probably Aspie will make me rant a lot. That'll be the biggest rant of the weekend if he rests.
I want to check on has Kyle Walker played? He's played a lot, right? He's played pretty much every minute of every game, or am I? He rested last week. Never mind. Walker rested last week.
Yeah, he did, didn't he? So that's the problem there.
Yeah.
And
if Zinchenko is getting healthy, then Cancelo will get a rest at some point. But you just have to take it on the chin. You got the hauls. Gold
FPL is James been overlooked. He could do real damage. He could absolutely do real damage to that left.
We spoke about him earlier.
Yeah, go back and check
through the
roof bit there if you didn't see it. We did a little bit on that, didn't we? Righty ho. Anything else?
Juan. He could be because that central matchup is quite good.
Yeah.
I think he's a good punt.
I don't think he's a bad.
And that's unless Bad Huang shows up, and then, but whatever. It's a good punt.
Yeah, I don't think it's bad.
Here's Rubber Ducky. If Lukaku is rested, is at the end of Rom in our teams, he won't be rested.
I think if he is, I think there'll be a fire sale. But then, is that going to be then the point that everybody then the people who are more patient are the ones who ultimately get something out of it? I think it will hurt a great deal, won't it, if that happens?
Yeah.
It really will hurt a lot.
Unless you have Livramento on your bench and he'll come in with a clean sheet.
That's true.
Against
Burnley. Could do. We've got Romanthan here. Kufal, Traore, Mason, and CR7. Having 2 free transfers, who should be my moves? Sufal to Laporte and Mason to Mr. M. Woodworkio.
I like Mason to Mbuemo. Great transfer, and then use that money if you can do better than Laporte, it would be good.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, has he got no more money in the bank to get a bit higher?
But Laporte was rested yesterday. He didn't play in Champions League. From is that right? I didn't watch the games. I was busy. I was out.
Too much going on yesterday.
But I think Laporte was rested, so he could be good. He could be good for the weekend.
Okay.
But just moving forward as a long-term asset is questionable.
Yeah. So FPL Peps is getting loads of questions in tonight. We were supposed to be nice. He came in on the videos for us. So if you want to get a video in, by the way, guys, do, because we'll keep doing these. I think they've been fairly well received. So as a Cancelo,
and I enjoy seeing the faces.
I do too. Yeah. So as a Cancelo, Alonso, Tierney, Livramento, and Williams owner, wow. What do you think my chances of getting a full back 3 playing this weekend, unless I make a transfer? Well, Livramento will play. That's one.
You got Livramento, you got Tierney.
Tierney's fit, is he? He'll play.
He'll play.
I think you'd be unlucky to get. Oh my goodness, that's actually a bit nervy, that, isn't it?
It's nervy, but I don't know.
It could pay off massively.
I know exactly.
I don't know if that's my type of defense, though. I can see why he's nervy, because I think I would be as well.
I don't mind this type of defense as long as I think if Williams were Duffy, I would feel much better about it, But I don't mind the high upside defense with decent bench players. I think it's a fun way to play the game. So
I don't mind it, but I just think it's just nervy. And
Yeah.
I think, look, what I'd do is I'd wait till later. Let's see what the team news is for Chelsea. We'll know a lot more later on, won't we? And I think you've made the point there as well. You know, if Alonso plays tonight, do we still prefer James over Chilwell as an Alonso replacement? I mean, look, I quite like. I think James is the risks for the substitutions, isn't it? He tends to get subbed on.
That's the big knock on him.
From an injury, he's probably going to be eased in, I would say. I can't see him being let loose straight away. Can you?
I can actually. The way James plays, because I think Chelsea needs the creativity. So I think Tuchel, if James plays, I think Tuchel will rely on him quite a bit. But I think this is an interesting question because of that, James does have a tendency to come on, be subbed on, right? Whereas Chilwell, not as much. And I do think Chilwell is eventually going to take that spot from Alonso. I just think he crosses the ball better.
Fair enough. Right, I think that'll do us. I think we'll knock it on the head. We'll call it a day.
All right.
For another matchup show, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. I certainly have. Gabe, thank you very much. Are you heading back down to Phoenix soon?
I'll be heading down to Phoenix on Saturday.
Okay, so Phoenix next week then. Yeah, I'm not going anywhere. Singapore's still in lockdown for another month. Happy days. Yes, absolutely. What else to say, really? Friday night deadline. Don't miss it. That's the reason why we're here on Wednesday, to give you plenty of time to catch this. What else can we say? If you haven't already liked this video, please give it a like. Please hit the subscribe button as well. And please hit the bell for notifications. Gabe, no article this week, but you'll post your bits and bobs on Twitter if you can.
Yep. Yeah, I'll post all the MXG stuff. I'll try to the manual. We'll see if it's this week or next week for the manual, and then I'll work on the predictive kind of stuff.
Yeah, and all my stuff, all my information's on Twitter as well, and I put your MXG fixture difficulty on the in Google Sheets as well, which you can get from the community tab on the YouTube channel. Right. Yeah, put us in your ears, download this pod, make sure you listen to it when you're out walking the dog or whatever you're doing. And apart from that, I think all we can safely say is we wish you all the very best for this week. Let's hope we get back to some green arrows. I know it's been a tough couple of weeks. Let's hope we don't have to go quite as deep into our benches. No more last-minute substitutions on for crying out loud. All right, guys. Anyway, take care, and we'll catch you haulers real soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Cheers. I'm absolutely serious, Gabe. If Azpilicueta doesn't play, you will hear the explosion from Phoenix. I guarantee you. I've not stopped the broadcast yet either. I'm still talking as usual. This is my new thing. So no, there will be explosions, I promise. Take care, my friend. Bye-bye.